Hey, what's going on, guys? Got another quick update on my backlog. I actually ended up beating a game. Wasn't really planning on beating it this quickly, but kind of got sucked into it. So, yeah, as you can probably already see from the title and the gameplay, it is Dark Souls 3. For the gameplay here, I kind of just have me fighting the boss, Champion Gundyr. He honestly might have been the hardest one for me in the game. If anyone else has played it and thinks I'm just trash and should have beat him easier, let me know. Or let me know what boss you guys thought was the hardest. I didn't play the DLCs, but with that I'll just give my kind of thoughts and yes, a little review of the game, but I don't know. It's an old game, it's not really in need of a review, but I'll just say my thoughts on it. Anyway, so while I was playing it, the one thing that obviously jumps out about these kinds of games, the FromSoft games specifically, is the difficulty. And for a little background, I've played just about all of their FromSoft games. I haven't necessarily beat all of them. Actually, I haven't beat any of them except for Dark Souls 3. So when I say I've played them, I've played like Elden Ring, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne. I haven't touched Sekiro, which I kind of do want to try that one out sometime soon. I think that one will be pretty fun. It looks like a good change of pace, but yeah. So yeah, what do I think of Dark Souls 3? First off, I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything, but the ending of it, I liked the ending. I know these games aren't really story-driven games, but the ending still felt like a satisfying end to the trilogy. And yeah, again, not much story to go off of, but it was still a satisfying end to that, so there's that. Then gameplay-wise, I would say the FromSoft style of combat has never been my favorite, and that is primarily due to a huge emphasis on dodge rolling and a lot of enemies having staggered attacks. I know it's some people might call it a skill issue or whatever, but I kind of find it boring when a long fight devolves into you just rolling, getting like one or two hits in and rolling again. It's kind of why I have this gameplay up of Champion Gundyr. He just keeps swinging. He doesn't really get staggered ever. He just keeps coming at you over and over and over again, and that's what makes him hard to me. But also, bosses like that, I know there is a satisfaction to once you finally beat them, which I will show in the clip, but it's kind of, I don't know. I don't find it the most fun. I prefer combat systems that are a bit more like fluid and fast paced, so something like the newer God of War games, for instance, but doesn't mean there wasn't fun to be had. I did Sword and Shield for pretty much the whole game. That does make it a bit easier too. Always tempted to try magic in these games, like whether it be like a faith or intelligence build, but never had too much luck with those because a lot of bosses close the distance quick, and I feel like I'm not skilled enough to, I don't know, get the openings for the spells. But yeah, let's see. I went through all the bosses in the base game. I didn't do the DLC, but even the side ones, like including like the Nameless King, for instance. He was tough, even though that fight's kind of mostly against the camera. If you've played it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, I enjoyed it, but definitely not my favorite type of game. I don't know that I plan to play too much of the other games anytime soon. I kind of need a break from it after beating Dark Souls 3, but I will say this. Dark Souls 3 is probably probably the best starting point for a lot of people who haven't played FromSoft games before. It's, I would say, relatively easier than, say, Elden Ring. I mean, you can look up ranking videos, and a lot of people have Dark Souls 3 higher. I think mostly because Elden Ring, you can kind of do things at your own pace and kind of grind up as much as you want. But honestly, I think like even like Margit, one of the first boss you fight in Elden Ring, is harder than like at least half the bosses in Dark Souls 3. So, but anyway, this isn't really a review of Elden Ring by any means. I'm got nowhere near far enough in that game to say anything encompassing about that game, but I guess let's start with bosses too for I kind of touched on gameplay, but let's go to bosses because that's kind of the main appeal of these games for a lot of people. Like I kind of mentioned, first half of bosses, with the exception of a couple, are actually quite easy. I found myself beating them on like first or second tries, which, again, for me, I'm no Souls veteran and I'm no great player at these kind of games, so yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. But one boss, well, I'll go over a couple bosses that I really liked, but the Watchers of the Abyss, so that fight was awesome. I don't have any clips of it in here, but really that was one of, if not my favorite, just boss fights of any of these games I've played. And then we also have the Twin Princes. That fight's epic as well. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's a really sick fight. Nameless King's a pretty cool fight. I mentioned it earlier about the camera. It's kind of an annoying one because of the camera, at least for the first phase. But he's pretty tough, but he's honestly really cool visuals and a lot going on there, so hard to complain too much. And yeah, I mean, the final boss fight's solid. It's nothing, doesn't blow your mind, but solid. And yeah, those are kind of the notable bosses to me. I'm trying to think if I'm spacing one, but that sounds about right. Another couple things I'd like to mention are the areas. I was actually a big fan of a lot of the areas in this game. I thought a lot of them were just, well, they're beautiful. The graphics still age pretty well. Like, the visuals are nice, and I liked most of the areas, and I keep saying most because Faerun Keep can just, that place can just go and die. That zone is terrible, but again, it's one of those things, if you play, you'll know. If not, and you want to try the game out, be ready for Faerun Keep to be just a headache. But yeah, I'm sure there's a few other bosses and things that I'm forgetting. And oh, I did like, actually I wanted to bring up, there's a lot of callbacks to Dark Souls 1 here in Dark Souls 3, which I never played through Dark Souls 1 fully, but kind of had an idea of story from watching videos and stuff, and I will say I really like what they did. Some people I heard were kind of disappointed with how they reused some of that stuff, but honestly I thought it was very fitting and a good way to like tie the whole trilogy together, especially since the trilogy is very conclusive at the end of Dark Souls 3, I'll say. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for me. And I'm not an expert on these games, so I don't have a ton of info to give, but I'll say solid bosses, easy, easier stepping in point than most FromSoft games. And I'll also say the combat's not my favorite, but it's exactly what you expect from these kind of games. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Dark Souls 3 in this video, and if you'd like to see more of anything like it, let me know. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.